Salutations. My name is Dr. Jesse Patrick Turner. I'm a professor of literacy, elementary and early childhood education, and I am also the director of our CCSU Literacy Center. Have been doing that for 27 years over here, and our center is 54 years old. We've been helping children who struggle with literacy for those 54 years. We provide about $6,000 worth of free services per year to children in need from the surrounding communities. That also gives me a special insight into being a professor. I not only study the theoreticals. If you look, I've lined myself with some of the research books. You should know that if you look in my office and you examine the books here, I have over 600 books over here, actually 1,000 books about literacy, about the research in literacy, and they're over $10,000, and they have to be next to me because I don't have time to go to the library to look them up. I need to have access to the research. Anyway, so what I'm saying is I know the research. So let's think about what I'd like to talk about today. I like to talk about the missing link in assessment. If you work with children, which I do, so I work with children and teachers every single day at my position here. And that means I'm right next to them. And to assess is a Latin root of assess, means to sit with, not to do something to someone, to sit with. You're learning from them as you teach. But anyway, I want to bring us to this point about this missing link in assessment. We have spent $3 trillion since No Child Left Behind began. And in that $3 trillion, we have focused assessment on high stakes assessments. We now spend upward to $2 billion every single year to give standardized tests, to collect data on children that pretty much will tell us poor children score low, wealthy kids score high, children in poor schools score low, and wealthy kids in wealthy schools score high. We could also track this data through free and reduced lunch, and it aligns perfectly with poverty. But I want to step back from what data, because that data doesn't tell me anything. What it really tells me, are you a poor kid? I can see it in that data over there. But let's think about what it's not telling us. It's not telling us about over here. Little story before we start. This over here on my key ring, I have to keep this on the key ring because a second grader who comes to the Literacy Center asked me a question 2 weeks ago. She said, Dr. Turner, how come you don't have a wedding ring? And you say, I have no wedding ring. And everybody in here knows my wife, knows my dog, knows my daughter. They know I'm a happily married man. Why no wedding ring? And she asked me that question, and I didn't know where it was coming from, the second grade. And so I said, well, let me be honest with you. I have these fingers that are fat in the morning and get skinny at night, and I lost 5 wedding bands. And my wife said, they're $500 each. No more wedding bands for you. So all of a sudden, this child who is a grade behind in literacy, who we know we can tell you what her decoding level is, her fluency level is, her comprehension level. We can tell you all the data that maybe you think that matters. But this data, she comes in and shows me this ring, and she says, Dr. Turner, you see this ring? And I'm looking at it and I think, oh yeah, that's a wonderful ring. Is that for your friend? And she goes, no, that's for you. And I said, for me? What? She goes, yeah, I'm solving the problem with your wedding ring. And see, you put it on. It stretches in the morning when it won't fall off because it stays, it adjusts. And in the evening when your fingers get real skinny, it stays on. So what did I learn about that? Maybe I should tell you that she is a second grader who is 1 grade behind in fluency, at level for comprehension, and for decoding is about a half a grade behind. Maybe I should tell you that. I could actually give you the Lexile levels in that stuff over there. I could give you data, quantitative data. Or maybe I should tell you this, that what do I know about this child? She asked the questions that she's curious about, the questions that matter. She cares enough to create. She's innovative, she's creative, she designs a ring that solves a problem. I think that data is more important. So over the past, I don't know, since 2002, I would call it wasted data, wasted lives. we're not collecting the data that really matters. So we get that concept over here. I want you to remember the story. I want you to know that we know what works. You don't need to go to Finland. You don't need to go to Australia. You don't need to go to Germany. You don't need to go anywhere. What works is right down the block in our wealthy and affluent communities. But we don't really need to even get to that. I looked at Brainwaves anthologies, been following them for a number of years. You can see Linda Darling-Harmon did one of our videos in 2015, and she talked about the flat world of education. And she's a professor at Stanford. She is the world's leading expert on assessment. And she talks about what works on that anthology video and what doesn't. And she really talks about the American system of assessment is broken. It does more harm than good, reality. And she talks about the nations that do well, they take care of their children, free health care, quality early childhood, after school programs, have high quality arts embedded in all the content areas. Teachers get professional development that's fully supported, paid for, even given time during the day. She talks about all the nations that are scoring above us and all the things they do well to support an assessment system that works. See, no wasted data, no wasted lives. She also tells you one more thing in that video, that the nations that lead the world in test scores for literacy and math, they only assess their students maybe once or twice in their whole career. Think about that. And they lead. In the US, we test children every year. We spend 6 to 8 weeks every single year testing them to see where they're at. That's why it costs $2 billion. So we want to get down to that, this concept of what's missing, the missing link. And I'll say the missing link is the child and the teacher. So in any kind of medical research, or if we're doing counseling, where we're doing addictions, if we're looking at psychology and we're looking at mental health, intervention must be connected to beneficence, and that's a wellness component. It must promise to cure everyone. Even if it can't, it must promise. And the moment you break that promise, then that medicine and that intervention can never make it to market, can never be approved. Well, when we look at our assessment system in the US, this high stakes assessment guarantees, requires massive failures. Half to 65% of the students must fail the assessment to make it standardized. You see, that intervention, that medicine, that would never make it to market, but only in schools do we do that. So I'm giving you that kind of concept to understand that America's assessment system is broken, and what's missing is, in medicine, I have to talk to the patient. In medicine, I have to talk to the caregiver. In medicine, I have to talk to family members. What are we not doing in our assessment system? We're not talking to children. Come on, ask yourself, what child today said, "Oh my God, Mom, I can't wait. I'm going to be tested on a high stakes test, a standardized test. I'm so happy." No child said that ever. What teacher ever said, "Oh, thank God we got the standardized assessment today. Kids are going to be motivated"? No, never did you hear a teacher do that. What parent has ever said, "Oh, thank God these standardized tests are going to save my child"? Never did you hear that. So when we're looking at the missing link of assessment, I say we're not talking to our children. We're not talking to our parents. We're not talking to teachers. We have lost 300,000 teachers since 2022. It's not even 2 years yet. That, I looked up the data, that's 70%, 17% of our teaching force. That means in 5 years' time, we may have no teachers left. So we've got this concept. Why are they leaving? They're leaving because we're not doing what Linda Darling-Harmon said. We're not supporting them with professional development. We're making them pay for it themselves. We're not giving them time during the school day. We're not respecting their opinions. We're not listening to them. That's why the teachers are leaving more than anything else. President Biden's Surgeon General said, our children, our adolescents are in mental health crisis. Why? Because no one's talking to them. No one's listening to them. No one's paying attention to them. So we get this missing link. To me, an assessment is, we got all this wasted data. I go to schools and they have data walls, and they have Lexile levels of kids, their standardized test scores, whatever their assessments on the walls, and they've got their names and the test scores number. And I say, see the child, not the test score. See the child, not the data. And you may be surprised. You may have the second grader who can solve your problem of wedding rings fall off your finger. You can see the creativity, the innovation, the gift. And right now, we're not studying, we're talking about reading wars, and the reading wars will go on forever as long as we're using these standardized tests. But these are the things I learned to read with. We're pretty much coming back to them, decodable texts. What are we not reading? We're not reading The Little Prince. This one over here is kind of taped. My wife doesn't really want me to do that. But this is the first edition of St. Antoine's Little Prince. And The Little Prince has a line in there, about a man, the Little Prince's story. They want to save their rose. They travel the universe to find out how to save their rose. And what happens is he finds a man who in the market raises 5,000 roses. And the Little Prince, St. Antoine, says to him, did you find what you're looking for? He says, well, no, but how come he can't find everything he needs in one single rose? So really, what's missing in assessment? We can't see the single rose. We can't see the child. We can't see what matters. We're collecting wasted data, very expensive wasted data. My teachers are spending 10 to 15 hours a week uploading wasted data that wastes lives online to send somewhere that nobody's really paying attention to. What really matters is, are you the single rose? Are you the child? Are you the one that makes the ring, that solves the problem? I just can't believe that we have spent $3 billion, and nearly at this point, we're in year 24, 22 years of wasted data and wasted lives. What's the missing link in assessment? The child, the teacher, the parent. Go collect that data, and you might be able to change the world. Thank you, Dr. Turner.